Hey guys, so it is currently 9:05 on Thursday, April 6th. I keep forgetting that for these Wheel of D20 vlogs, I actually have to start when I've started with my Wheel of D20 reads. I'm already through 2 of my 4 books and almost a quarter of the way through my 3rd one, so yeah. Anyway, let's talk about them because both of these books are new to me. The 3rd one is a reread, so I won't have to talk about it too much, but let's go over the first 2 that I ended up completing, which the first one was volume 1 of Waiting for Spring by Anashi, something like that, Anashi. I don't quite know how to pronounce the name. This was for the prompt of a format I rarely read, which specifically is manga through ebook format. I have only maybe read a handful of things in this format. I read manga probably the least amount out of everything, but specifically manga through ebook is not something that is very much in my wheelhouse. But read the entirety of Waiting for Spring Volume 1 basically in one sitting. Was super cute. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. This is basically about a girl who starts up at this new school and she meets this group of guys who are all part of the basketball team, and she kind of like meets one of them and then meets all of them, and these are guys that every girl fawns over at their school. And the main character, she really has a hard time with making friends, and it's really difficult for her to do so because the only friends she did have ended up moving away, and she's just had a really hard time with connecting with a lot of people. Well, it turns out that the place where she works, one of the boys from this team is like infatuated with the girl, and so they think in order to get this other girl's, trust and everything, they'll hang out at the cafe all the time that this girl works at. And that is where the main character, like I said, also works. So essentially what happens is that not only does the main character get close with all 4 of the boys, she specifically gets close with one in particular. I can't remember names for the life of me. I apologize, but basically you start to see the 2 of them develop this friendship and possible relationship later on down the line. And it's a lot really about, allowing yourself to, I think, trust different people, because when I was a teenager, for instance, there was a point in my life where it was really hard for me to make friends because I may have had like a lot of acquaintances, but I couldn't like fully envelop myself in friendships, especially in college, because I had previously some friendship trauma. I had, issues with friend groups and people I thought were my best friends, and, just had a lot of trauma surrounding around that. And so for many years, it was difficult for me to even want to make friends that were more than just my classmates or acquaintances or anything like that, because I was just so afraid of the same thing happening to me that I had that happened before. And I think that that's why I connected a lot with this main character. She's incredibly shy, and it's not until she really feels like she's become a part of this 4-person group, now a 5-person group, that she starts to kind of recognize her own worth. And I think enough of it too really goes into the fact that sometimes you can find friends in the most unlikeliest of ways, and even if those friends are not necessarily who you may have been friends with beforehand, that doesn't mean that they're not, still good friends. There are people who, you can in some ways rely on. They are definitely people that are not always going to be out to get you. You're always going to find somebody that you're going to create some kind of memories with. And I think this story was a lot of just allowing herself to be vulnerable again, because she was so concerned for the longest time with being vulnerable that it made it really hard for her to make friends in the first place. And so allowing that vulnerability really kind of, I think, let her blossom, which I thought was really sweet. I did feel like that the story was really kind of jumping from place to place very quickly. I feel like there was something missing. I don't know what it was, but something just didn't feel whole in terms of understanding the full scope of things. I wonder if it's because it's the first volume, and over the course of the volumes of this series you learn more and more about the main character that kind of starts to fill in the gaps. but something just didn't feel right to me. Something just felt like it was missing really, really badly, but I still did enjoy it, and I definitely would like to read more from this manga series because it was really cute. It was really sweet. I don't know what it is, but high school manga series are really fun for me. I think it's just kind of that you know, wish fulfillment in a sense, where I kind of wish these kinds of things had happened when I was in high school as opposed to what did happen when I was in high school. And so, I don't know, it was just really cute and really sweet, and I definitely enjoyed my time with it. Now, the next one, I don't really know how to say my thoughts on this one other than just, wow. So I read the entirety of Corrupt by Penelope Douglas. This was for the prompt of a trope that I dislike or hate. And I will say I was so against the idea of a bully romance. Never was something I was interested in, really. It was something that really seemed to turn me off. But I was very, very wrong. I was very, very wrong. The best way I can describe the way I felt about this book was, this is exactly how, when I have any kind of fantasies, if you will, about specifically people that were my bullies growing up, that I still did have some kind of crush on because I was naive at the time. This is the kind of thing I had hoped would happen eventually with these people, is that it would become a lot like Michael and Rika. I don't know how much that talks about my trauma and how bad it got sometimes. But yeah, that's any look into what goes on up here. That's it. Now, this was actually really interesting. Now, this was a full-on ride. This was a roller coaster from beginning to end. So if you've never read this series, it is the first book in a series by Penelope Douglas called Devil's Night. And it starts off where it's about this girl named Erica, who is in that young adult, that new adult kind of area. Like, she's, I think, just turning 20. And in this book, we basically are panning back between the present time and 3 years prior, because what we find out is that Erica is basically, she feels like being followed around by this guy who is the elder sibling to her ex-boyfriend, who she's been like having this crush on for years, but he's treated her like dirt for most of her life. And essentially the reason that he's doing this is because her ex-boyfriend's family, who she's literally grown up with her entire life, like the mother of these boys is also Erica's mom's best friend. So she's literally grown up with Michael, who is our hero in this story. She's grown up with him basically her entire life. He's 3 years older than her, and he is an NBA star. Like, he is like top money, like top fame, top popularity, all these things. Like, everybody knows who he is. And Erica is in college, and she basically decides after her first year of college to break things off with her current boyfriend. Okay, so apologies. I forgot that the last time I used my camera was now almost a week ago, and I haven't charged the battery in it since then. So I definitely need to put that back on the charger. Anyway, so basically you find out that Michael is kind of tailing around Erica because part of the thing is that he is doing the bidding of his family, where they want to keep an eye on her because they are basically trying to get her to eventually marry her ex-boyfriend. All these things, because they're the same age, you know, they've had a relationship in the past, all that stuff. Well, you learn very quickly that not only does Erica have a thing for Michael and has for many years, you find out that Michael's had a thing for Erica for many years. But it might not necessarily be as innocent as it seems. And essentially she gets roped into this awful situation where things from the past basically come to haunt her, which is why we pan back to 3 years beforehand. And essentially the story is building up to understanding what happened 3 years ago that essentially is leading to why a lot of the things are happening to her now, and how Michael's involved in it, and what possibly could happen to Erica. It's a very scary story. This is very much a story where It is a very dark romance, but it is also incredibly scary. Like, this is almost borderline like horror movie, but this is like suspense movie written all over it. Like, I think this would be amazing as a TV show or movie because it's so visceral, the feeling that you get when things are happening. At the very beginning, at first, I was really skeptical of whether I was going to enjoy this. But the book was so addictive. It was like I could not stop listening to this. And I have got to say, the smut in this is like drooling all over the place. It's intense. Like, prepare to have a towel underneath you kind of intense. Like, damn. Oh man. It is a ride in more than one way, which is awesome because I had heard that Penelope Douglas as a smut writer and as a romance writer was really, really cool. I have heard some hit or miss things about some of her other books, but I did hear Corrupt was really good. Like, a lot of people seem to really like it, and I was definitely one of those people. I definitely do not condone many of the things that Michael does in this book because he is the epitome. He is the perfect example of how I believe somebody specifically that I knew growing up who I would consider to be more of a bully to me would be in this situation if we had a situation like Erica and Michael going on where like the bully has secretly a thing for the girl and they don't want anyone to know about it and they're trying to hide it from themselves kind of thing. Like, this is exactly how I feel like some of the fantasy romances that would happen in my head. Fantasy meaning like made up in my own head, in dreams, that kind of thing. This is how I see a lot of that stuff happening if it was involving certain people that I grew up with, that I was stupidly infatuated with for whatever reason, despite the fact that they caused me so much trauma. Stockholm Syndrome, what's that? I think I may have heard that a time or two, you know, that kind of thing. This was a ride. I loved it though. Like, I loved the way that it ended. It's got apparently more to the story, which I appreciate because I think each of the books, if I'm not mistaken, does follow one, like it's a companion series, because I'm fairly certain that what happens to Michael and Erica at the end of this book is the end of their story. But I think that at least book 2, which is called Hideaway, is more focused on one of the other friends of Michael. And I think that that continues where like there's other stories involved in the same world with the same characters, but each book follows a different one. And I could be wrong, but I feel like that's the way that this goes because that's pretty common for a lot of authors where especially they write very taboo dark romances or any romances in general where that's what they do. They make companion novels because while one story for a set of characters may be over, in that same world, there's still something else to tell about one of the other characters. And I have a distinct feeling that I will enjoy the rest of them to some extent, but I don't know if I will enjoy it as much as I did of Erica and Michael's story because that's a very special kind of case that I think you only like in a certain way for a certain reason. I got hot and bothered. I ain't gonna lie. It was, yeah. I'm not ashamed to say it. I'm not. I'm a grown-ass woman. I'm 25 years old. I'm married. I can say that a smutty book was very hot and made me hot and bothered. It's a fact of life. You don't like it? Scurry on along. There's other things out there for you if you don't want to hear me talk about smut. I don't know what's gotten into me recently, but I have kind of just decided I am no longer going to bullshit when it comes to my actual distinct thoughts on things like romances, because if something is hot to me, I'm gonna say it's hot. It's gonna be piping hot. And I don't know, I'm tired of feeling like I have to censor everything because I understand there's a lot of people who may be younger that watch my channel, but I talk about adult books. I talk about, you know, smutty things here and there, but like, I won't go into explicit details of how things are, but at the very least, I'm not going to shy away from the fact that I'm going to, as a woman, be able to say that something was extremely hot in a book. Like, there's no point in hiding that, because your star rating on Goodreads is going to show it. Your star rating on Storygraph is going to show it anyway. Like, if you give something a 5 stars, probably because you really, really enjoyed a lot of things, including the smut. Just gonna say. There's no shame in it. There's no, you know, judgment on my part. You like what you like, as long as you're not hurting anybody. Who the hell gives a fuck, truthfully? But anyway, so that is basically so far what I've read. Now I'm currently, like I said, a quarter of the way through my 3rd book for the Wheel of D20, which right now is Dazzled by Ryan LaSala. This is a reread for me, and I loved this book the first time I read it. It was a 5 out of 5 stars when I read it back in July of 2022. Absolutely adore this book. I'm loving it again still. It makes my nerd heart super, super happy. If you don't know, this is a book that's basically all at a convention, and it's all about cosplay. And it's about a set of boys who had a relationship in the past and had a falling out, and basically how they came together through the love of cosplay. And it's really just a story about owning up to who you are and being proud of who you are, no matter what anybody else says. And being proud to showcase what you love and how you love it in any artistic form. In an artistic form, too, in particular, that is still very, very much not looked at as an art form currently. Cosplay is something I wish I had the talent to be able to do. I have never been able to fully create something on paper of how I want. I am not an artist by any means. And I love and appreciate cosplayers because it takes so much time and so much skill into making any kind of costume for any kind of convention, whether it's a horror convention, a comic convention, anything like that. Like, the amount of dedication that something like that takes is insurmountable, and I commend any person that goes out and does that for a living or even just for a hobby, because I could never. I don't have the skill. I don't have the artistic brain for that. I don't have that. And honestly, I'm a little envious of people that are able to do that. But then at the same time, I think as an outsider, it just makes it more enjoyable for me because I get to see people just enjoy creating things. And I love being able to watch people create things that they're enjoying creating and that they are putting themselves and their hearts and minds and bodies and souls into. Like, that for me as an audience member, as an outside viewer, is more gratifying, I think, than even thinking of coming up with something that I could cosplay. Now, you could always do a closet cosplay where you just use pieces from your wardrobe to create an outfit, but I don't know very many characters I could use my wardrobe to emulate. I have a very, very basic wardrobe, I think, and I don't believe any of it is something that I could use to create a character that I would want to cosplay. And that's not to say that I couldn't. I just think it'd be much harder. I could definitely do, you know, something that is inspired by a character in terms of an outfit, but that's about as far as I'd be able to go in terms of any kind of cosplay. But this book just makes me love it all the more and makes me so excited to see things when it comes to like Comic-Con, because like it's just so much fun to watch people go around in the things that they create, that they spend so much time leading up to those events doing. It's just makes my heart just so happy to see people do things that make them happy and wear things that they feel powerful in because they made it themselves or they had somebody make it for them and it fits right. And just being able to be a character like that for a day and get attention from people because they're being characters that other people love and want to get pictures with them and all these things. It's just, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And I just eat that shit up. I love it so much. It's so fun to watch and just be able to see and be a part of, if not actually be in costume and a part of it in that way. But anyway, that's going to be it for right now. I'm not going to really talk much more about this book because again, it is a reread for me, and I have actually, I think, another Wheel of D20 video where I may have read it, or at the very least, like, I know I've talked about it in the past, and so there's not much for me to really say on it right now. I will speak to you guys a little bit later when I have finished Bedazzled. I only have one other book on my Wheel of D20 TBR, but I have to wait until next week to read it because it is also one of my books for the Battle of the Bookish Skills Training Camp, and it's a comic, so it's really short. It's like less than 20 pages, so it's going to take me like maybe an hour, if that, maybe more like 10 minutes to read the whole thing. And I'm currently on sprints with Bree, Brandy, and Adrian, and I've got about 19 minutes left, so I do want to listen to a little bit more of my audiobook before I get back into sprints and before Okay, so it is, I think, going on 1 o'clock in the afternoon on Easter Sunday. It is April 8th. So I did manage yesterday to finish my third book for the Wheel of D20, which was Bedazzled. Gave it a 5 out of 5 stars again. This was a reread for me. So I've completed 3 of the 4 prompts for the Wheel of D20. And my next one is going to be super easy. Like, I am completing the Wheel of D20 within the first 2 weeks of the month, which is bonkers. Like, I didn't think that that was going to happen, but my final read for this month is a very short piece. It is a comic for the Vox Machina Origins. This is from volume 3. It is issue 4. This is going to take me less than an hour to read. Like, I'm going to finish this before I even leave to go to my parents' house for Easter. So I think it's safe to say that this month was an absolute success. And I'm super excited because May then means I only have to have 3 prompts for the Wheel of D20, which means I'm getting closer and closer to completing the Wheel of D20 for the first time this year, and then having an entire free month, which I'm super duper excited about. I cannot wait. I'm just thrilled beyond belief. I have some stuff I need to update though in terms of like readathons and stuff I'm doing currently. Like, I've, as of today, got started with the Battle of the Bookish Skills Training Camp. I'm doing Aurelium this month and Realmathon. So I'm really needing to like catch myself back up with a lot of stuff that I've done. But Vox Machina will be next, and I'm very excited because, like I said, that's going to be really quick, and then I can just finish out this vlog and kind of just focus on my other stuff. So I will speak to all you guys when I finished Vox Machina Volume 3, Issue 4. Okay, well, that was really quick. I read the entirety of this one. So I was actually wrong. I was thinking I was up to Issue 4 in the Vox Machina Origins, but turns out I was up to Issue 3. So read Issue 3, loved it, absolutely fantastic. Still counts for my prompts as I had originally wanted because it is in the same area. It's just I had the wrong issue that I was up to. So got this one done for the Wheel of D20, which does conclude my Wheel of D20 vlog. So let's wrap up real quick what my ratings were. I think I had all 5 stars. No, I didn't. I had 1 4-star and 3 5-stars because I gave Vox Machina a 5 out of 5 stars. Loved it. This also, like I said, counts for the Battle of the Bookish Skills Training Camp prompt for this week, which is great. I already have 1 book down for the Skills Training Camp, which is very exciting. But yeah, so I'm really proud of this. I had 4 and 5-star reads, which I think I'm just getting to finding a lot of books that I really like. So like I said before, May basically will involve where I only have 3 spins, hopefully, for the Wheel of D20, which then will lead to 3 prompts, hopefully, and then hopefully only 3 books. Now, I still have the ability to get doubles if I roll this same prompt twice on the wheel, so we'll have to see how that goes. But for right now, I'm gonna head out, so I will speak to all you guys in my next video. If you guys did enjoy this one, please do give it a big thumbs up, and if you haven't already and you'd like to be and would like to see more content like this, go ahead and hit that button down below and subscribe to become an owlet in our flock, and I will see all of you guys in my next video. Bye guys!